This is like the first game of Storybook Brawl I was able to record. I'm only about 2,400 rated. Actually, I don't know what the high rated players are at. I just started playing like last week, but I've definitely played a lot. So you can see I have 31 trophies. So yeah, I've been playing quite a bit. It's been a lot of fun. In this game, I chose the Mad Catter. I don't have all the characters unlocked. I just have the base ones plus I think two more that I just got with Dust. This one, if you roll, it adds your level worth of stats the to a random minion you can buy. I usually start with I start with the dragon. Dragon's pretty good against supports early because they are the O3s. It's the one that gives the attack and the one that gives the health. They each give 3 of each, but they're O3s, so if you can snipe those, you get a free hit. I mean, basically early game, most of you guys will be trading, and there's mostly 2-2s. So if you can trade, if you get a free hit on an enemy, you have a better chance of winning the fight. Unfortunately, I don't have any good characters. I would be able to just buff them. Getting the 1-1 is pretty good. So as you can see, the frog got buffed to be a 3-3, which is pretty good on a slay character because it increases the chances of slaying significantly. I'm never really sure what to do on turn 3. You can always sell your guy and buy 2, or sometimes you get lucky with a nice spell, or if you get the spell that gives you a gold. And there's a few different options. For instance, like you could get this one. This spell plays a random spell, and sometimes you can get it reduces the cost of 2 things. We're going to lose this fight here against Krampus because his evil characters get +1/+1. Just a good early game power. He takes advantage by using that spell. So right here we're able to get 5 gold. I don't know if that matters to us at all here. I don't think it really does. So we're just going to use the 4. Supports I think are pretty good early. It increases our chance of slaying here. And then the chicken's usually good to buy because you can resell it. So, it resells for 2, it costs 2. So it basically just lets you hold gold for the next round, but also put a body on the field. But even late game, if you have a full board, buying a chicken in order to just save gold for the next round, because sometimes you have breakpoints, like if you can't buy a 6-cost guy, your gold isn't as useful. So here I put the frog in back because when the frog hits, it slays. That means when it kills a character, it will pop its ability. And this one's ability is it transforms into a random character that's 1 level higher than your current level. So if I were to slay here, which I believe I end up doing, because even if it dies, I get a 3-cost guy. But if I were to do it on this round, now that I've leveled up, I would have got a 4-cost guy. So it works out for me because I actually get this character. I think it's an adventurer. And what the adventurer does is when it slays, you get an XP. So each XP is a third of a level, which is pretty good. I mean, getting to level 6 or even 5 and 6, you get some pretty powerful things, and that's when you get the build-arounds. So getting to 6 before other people gives you a huge power buff, and you can get level 6 treasures, which are much stronger than the low-level treasures. I mean, level 5s are good. They get better as they go. So getting a big slay guy, in this case I got a 3-3 because it also got the buff. Because when you transform something, it keeps the buff, which is pretty significant. So it becomes a 6-3 because of the support we have behind it, which means these are both likely to slay. I'm willing to let this one slay here because I'm now level 3 and waiting 2 or 3 turns. We want to cash in for the power. We put these other guys up front because them getting hit means we're more likely to get 2 slays off. So we get that slay off, and then we also get this slay, and we're able to win the fight because we have an extra person on board. So this worked out super well. So now we can either choose to buy the XP, which is really good, because again, leveling is really strong, or we can double up on the adventurer, so we get the gold. Right here I choose the Haunted Helm specifically because it allows me to have a better chance of slaying. I got the Juliet off the transform. So now when this slays, you'll get 2 XP, which is 2/3 of a level. So if we keep getting slays, if we get a slay plus the 1 XP we get every level, we'll get a full level every turn, which means, in just, 2 more rounds, we'll be right at 6, which would be pretty huge. Or, I guess 3 more rounds. So that's really what we're going for right now. We also have a couple big bodies. This is this is a pretty sizable body. This, because we got the plus 10 health, is fairly big, so we should be able to win, most of the fights, or at least not get blown off the map. The way you take damage is you take 1 damage for every level of the opponent, and then you take 1 for each unupgraded guy and 3 for each upgraded guy. So we got the first slay off, already puts us level 4. They actually spent some money. This gives you 1 XP and 3 health, I believe. So having the support guys means that your other characters get more attacks. So we actually got a double slay off this guy, and we ended up winning the fight. So having the support guys is a good way to buff your guys, but also make sure you get your strong people to attack. So it's pretty interesting that way. I actually buy this thing. This allows us to double our slay abilities, but since the only slay we have is the XP, and doubling it will do nothing because we already get 2 off it, and really we only need 1 because we're auto going to get 1. So we're going to hit 6 pretty fast. But these supports are generally pretty strong, especially early. They just provide a ton of stats, and these 2 are ranged. I'm buying the Frog here because getting level 6 is actually pretty good. 6s are just usually the build-arounds end up being 6s in this game, it seems to me so far. There might be some 5-cost guys, like the book got nerfed, but you used to be able to build around it, and the copycat was a 4 you could build around. There's probably some build-arounds that better players could let me know about, but so far, the first good 6 I get tends to be what I'm keying off of. So that's sort of how I've been playing, and in this game, we're way ahead in XP because we just got, 4 bonus XP last round. I think we've gotten 2 full levels off the adventurers. These guys are, this guy, he played a spell that buffs all his people to 1 of the next level, so these guys are pretty big. We get our slay triggers off. He is the 016. If he had got that to be a 16/16, if you target a spell on it, so it's like an 08 to start, but if you cast a spell on it, it ends up being an 8/8, and when you upgrade it, it's 16. So if he was able to target it, it would have been really powerful, but I actually think he got it off the transform, so it didn't really matter. So we got this. This is interesting. Whenever something on your team gets a buff, that also gets a buff. It's actually weird because we actually power leveled pretty hard, and I probably should have paid more attention to this. This would be an interesting buy right here, the ranged character, because it upgrades on every slay. So because we have so many slays, this character doubles your slays. So I guess these are our only 2 slays, but we could actually power it up, and it got the buff off the roll, which is now giving +6/+6. That one also, that has a last breath it's called in this game. This is actually pretty good with all, so right now I'm selling off a bunch of characters because they don't do much, and I really just want to get high level people because that lets you get high level treasures. Now, I was saying that because we're at a high level, but we're still not at the max gold. The max gold in this game, I think, is 12 instead of 10 in Hearthstone. We're currently at 8. So we can't buy 2 6s in a round, or even 2 5s. We're just sort of pretty far behind. So these slays aren't really giving us a lot of value at this point. So we sort of want to transition away from the adventurer just because it's not doing much. I think our ranged guys here will let us win these fights because, our opponent's still level 4 with 0 XP. So we're 2 full levels ahead. So even right here, we can only buy this, a 6 and 3 5s we have to sell something if we want to buy the other 5. I think I ended up doing that. These are just stat. I'm just buying stats basically. When they spawn, this spawns a level 6. So like I said, 6s are pretty powerful. This spawns a 2-2, then a 4-4. So because you have supports, if you can keep getting guys to spawn in that spot, they get the buffs, so you get extra value out of those buffs rather than just one body absorbing them over the course of the fight. 3 bodies will end up getting those buffs, so that's pretty powerful. And we're mostly looking just to triple the bears. Although, because the bear's stats are so low, I mean, tripling is very good for the treasure, but there's a lot of characters in this game where if the ability tripling, for instance, in this case, the ability makes, rather than making a 2-2 and a 4-4, you make a 4-4 and an 8-8. Late game, those numbers are so small that the tripling doesn't help, so just having the 2 bodies might be worthwhile. Sometimes the ability upgrade is really good. If it doubles the effect on, say, like on this, the mummy, when it dies, it does 4 damage. When you triple it, it does 8. So that's, doubling the effect. You might as well get it on 1 body rather than 2. But the bears, where most of the value is just them spawning in place, it's not super good all the time to get the triple. It's usually good to get the treasure, but if you have treasures you're happy with, you don't necessarily need to. So that's one thing to think about. I'm not particularly good at that yet. So there's a 5 that I figure I'll try to triple. I think here we probably go for Hercules, because getting a level 6 treasure is really good. So I think I end up selling the guy I just bought. I think I'm trying to figure out, what else to sell. I don't know why I keep this Treant so long, because we really don't have anything to combo with it. It's really good when you have buffers. There's a Treant deck that, or a board, I guess, that works really well because it has a variety of buffers, and it can make that huge. It can work well with the Good Boy, which gives buffs to all your characters. There's a few different things it works well with. We just don't have any. Even with Berenstein, which buffs your spawns, it makes them double in attack. That also seems to count for this. So if we had a Berenstein and then these bears, um, this would grow pretty large. But right now it's just sort of taking up space, which is fine. I think we got it for free off one of the sleighs, so we just sort of had it. But that's why that's just sort of sitting there the whole game. So this person's getting some sleigh effects. Actually, that's the Berenstein right there. They don't have anything to combo with it. Oh, actually, this will combo. This will double its attack right here. So they got all the value off the random spawn. We basically just want to try to proc this. Basically, this quest. So quests will upgrade you guys. Instead of having to get 3 copies, you can just complete the quest. And this quest is do 100 damage with them. So whether he attacks or gets attacked, it works out. So I think we're 1 attack short, which is fairly good. To complete it in 1 round is pretty difficult, so doing it in 2, which we'll hopefully be able to get, is pretty good. So this 6 is, I think his name is Lordy. So basically for every dwarf you have, every dwarf gets +2/+2 for every dwarf you have. So it's really only good in a heavy dwarf comp. We keep seeing them. We don't have a heavy dwarf comp, of course. So here we tripled it just so we could get the treasure. Now here since we have 3 supports, I take this treasure, which upgrades, it makes all our supports hit everybody. So usually the supports just affect the people in front of them. This makes it so they'll hit everyone. So this guy will get a little extra value from these 2. This guy will apply to here. I don't know if that was the best one. There was one that gave your lowest guy +15/+15, which is fairly good, but doesn't scale super well. And the other one, I think, upgraded your last guy, which doesn't scale that well a lot of the time because most of you guys near the end of the game will be upgraded, and the ones that aren't, you can't necessarily choose your order with an eye to that. There's a bunch of things that will be competing to dictate the ordering of your board, and if you add another one of those, sometimes it just makes it harder to set up your board in the best way. It looks like whenever this guy spawns, when the bears spawn, because they get the support buff, it seems to proc on the treant, which I didn't notice. So that might be helping us sort of stay alive. So here, we're looking at a few options. The summoning option is okay if you have like a huge summoning thing, but I think the Phoenix Feather just basically gives you a second, set of stats for your highest attack guy. So it scales with that. I think we're trying to triple this one again, which we keep trying to do. Buying spells for buffs seems okay. It's probably better early, but just giving a little bit of stats isn't too bad. So since the supports apply to everything, this gives Slay to everybody. And it makes the Slay, this is like the mermaid princess. I forget the name. I don't know the name of all the cards yet. And she will give everyone Slay. This doubles the slays of everybody. So everybody, when they get a kill, will get +2/+2, which will then also buff the treant for just this fight. I'm not sure if the Baba Yagas, I think this one is. It says each of your slays applies twice. It doesn't say an additional time, so it might just be 2 times no matter how many you have on board. When you triple it, it becomes they apply 3 times. So I wasn't sure here if I should put it on board again to stack them. The positioning of my supports isn't super important, although I should probably have her at the end because she's melee and these are ranged, so to keep her, since she's not really high in stats. So the Fates right here has the Good Boys, which gives stats to everybody equal to its own stats when it dies. And that actually makes this person's board pretty big. And they have the Juliet Romeo combo, which doesn't scale super well, I don't think, but is fairly effective here. I think this is the fight we lose, and it's the first one we've lost in quite a while. We got the double dip off the Hercules, but I think there's just too many stats here. They have this treasure buffs all princesses +4/+4. They also have some mostly low-level treasures because I think most people are just getting to 6. This is a support that gives all your people +10 health. Since we have the ability to apply supports to everyone, getting those seems pretty worthwhile. It seems worthwhile to try to get the the best supports in the game, which I think this might be the strongest support. Right now you can see people only have 9 health, 8 health, so giving our entire front row 10 health each seems pretty good. This is a monster, and it says whenever your monsters attack, they get +10/+10 for this brawl. So this and Baba Yaga are both monsters, so I thought it might be a decent pickup here. Right now, like we're sort of in a mid game, or mid to late game. We're pretty strong, but other people are catching up to us. So we're just trying to keep winning fights, and then just find those 6, level 6 triples, or even level 5 triples. We have a level 3 treasure, I think, is the helm right here. So we can get rid of that if we can. And then we're just trying to, let people get eliminated, keep our health total relatively high. So this person is playing treants, and they kill a Hercules, and they make him a 45/1 when you attack. I think it's called the apple bombs. It makes your person go to 1 health. So when it respawned, it only had 1 health as well, which meant that this fight got a lot harder. I think we might be able to finish it off because we just have enough stats, but this was a pretty close one, just because of those things. The fights sort of tend to turn on small margins. Late game, this is a pig morph, and it's very strong in terms of spells. Late game, it just turns an enemy into a 10/10. It's much better like later because a 10/10 is, that's as big as one of our characters right now. So I think right here I'm thinking about if we want to get the Green Knight, or if we want Knighthood. Knighthood makes any of you guys upgraded, but doesn't. You don't get the treasure off it. Otherwise, I think it'd be really broken. If you could just get a level 6 treasure off it. So I think I'm thinking about whether or not to use it, or whether or not to just buy the second Green Knight and buff all, because, we get a lot of value out of it. Right now, I had Hercules in the first spot because I wanted him to get his quest, and then I sort of left him there for a while. The Oni King, I think this is, has an ability that only procs off they attack. If you have people that only proc when they attack, putting them up front allows them to attack sooner, which means they'll be more powerful. Some people, you put later because you need them to survive, or they take a while to get buffed, like the Treant in this case. You don't want her just suiciding. So we're able to get a polymorph off. Polymorph, yeah, I bought it a little early this game. I think because I was level 6 for a while, I thought the game was sort of later game than it was. Um, Luckily, this person has dwarfs, which are pretty strong. I've won a few games with dwarfs, but doesn't have a lot of upgrade. I think almost no upgraded people, so they're not as strong as they could be. And I think our Hercules will hold here and probably finish them off. Yeah, so they just got a little unlucky with getting triples. But dwarfs can be a really strong comp. So then we get I think it's called the Green Knight. And that's another support we could get. Which is why I sort of paused there. We're debating whether or not to get this. The dragon got the buff. Unfortunately, the dragon isn't a monster, so it doesn't pair with the Oni King. We don't really have a comp right now. We just sort of have stats, which is fine enough. It's gotten us, this far. Mostly because we were at level 6, but people are going to outscale us if we don't find something, something that scales well, like a powerful comp. So I'm looking at Berenstein here, and there's actually I think it's called the 3 evil pigs, or 3 bad pigs, something along those lines. And when they spawn, so the Berenstein gives all your animals +2/+2, and then whenever something spawns, an animal spawns, I believe, it doubles the attack. So that pairs well with the pigs, because I think they summon 5/5 pigs, and I think it makes them, I'm not sure if it makes them 12/12s or 14/14s, but that also buffs the Treant we have, and it takes advantage of all our supports, because you have more bodies in this spot. So I freeze for that just because we're sort of trying to transition. Our back line is not super good at this point. The slays are better early, obviously, because you get more value later by getting the permanent buff. But if it's the last fight of the game, the permanence of the buff isn't super significant. So you just sort of want to put the best board for a single fight, rather than sort of investing in the future by putting less strength on the board. We seem to beat this guy pretty easily. Krampus. We have a lot of health, or a lot of stats, so he's sort of just able to overpower some people. But now we're going to try to get a little bit of a comp together. We could try to get the little princess. She's pretty good, especially with some combos. But I think it's a little too late for that. So instead, I think I just want to try to fit in the pigs. And we sort of bought a bunch of people. Like, we bought the princess to try to triple, and we didn't end up doing that. Right here, I think I'm rolling to see if I can find any triples. I don't take the extra gold. It might be worth it here for me to take the extra gold. And I take the free roll. I should have considered the Berenstein, too. I could have sold off enough people to get the baby bear in, I think. Or, sorry, not the Berenstein. The Berenstein is the person I just put in. The other person I was discussing was the baby bear. So, supports need to go in back to get the effect. I believe. Yeah, they don't apply to the back row. Which is unfortunate because we want to protect the Berenstein, because that only gets value if if it's alive when your other people are dying. And we'd like the Treant to be in back because we don't want her to just get attacked early on and die without getting her buffs. So this is interesting. They have the princess comp, and it looks like they have a upgraded good boy. So right there, we got a Treant picked off, before she could get buffed by the Berenstein and Mama Bear procs. So this one we get pretty completely trashed, and because the opponent, the Fates, have so many upgrades, we take a ton of damage. We took what 16 damage I think it was. Right here I'm looking at the good boy. It will get buffed by both our first person on board gets plus 10 health, plus the supports give another plus 10, and then when he dies, all good characters, so mostly the yellow ones, I think everyone except the pigs is good right now, will get his stats when the good boy dies. So right now we're switching to a Treant comp. So this character, I don't remember the name, gives everybody, or gives every Treant on your team attack equal to its health. So it will turn into a 40-40, and then it will buff all these Treants in the back with plus 40, plus O, and that will make this grow even bigger because they will see the buffs of the other people. So that's sort of the comp we're going for. Plus, we have this to give health. So we'll get a lot of people with a lot of attack, and then this will give them health, is sort of the plan. How well that works is to be seen. So the good boy dying third out of the four front row people is really nice for us. Gives us a little better shot in this round. They are going to spawn some Juliets, which are going to be quite large. And that might make it tough for us to win this one. Although we get the... So now this is our biggest character. I think it's decided after the buffs happen. So we're able to win this just by being able to put more raw stats on the board. And that's sort of what we're continuing to look for. We're looking for Treants, basically. And, I mean, if we could triple the Green Knight, that'd be pretty huge. Polymorph Potion would be pretty big, so I think I think I was thinking about the potion draw. Oh, there we go. We got the level 6. So because we have something that buffs the health, I think so this will set the attack to, or the attack or health of each character to whatever the highest is. And I believe it does it after the buffs. So what we'll get is all the Treants will get buffed by this guy, and then this treasure will give them health as well to make sure they match. So because we only have these two Treants, it's not that big of a combo right now. But this will also get buffed. This will get buffed by 20 because it's providing so much health. It will also provide attack, which is pretty good. One problem we're having is that this has such low health right now. This will get some off this spawn, but it's just trading 1 for 1 sometimes, or I guess 2 for 1. But we have enough stats here that I think we're able to win. It probably won't be enough to get a kill because we only have one character remaining. I think it only does 7. So we're just looking for a polymorph mostly and to triple any remaining people. There's not going to be much left that we can meaningfully do to improve the board that isn't tripling our current people. We can get the Green Knight here. The buff in health means that an additional Treant is going to get buffed. I probably should have considered that 626 a little more heavily. So it means that we have another Treant to get buffed, which improves this. It's an additional good character, although this was also good. And it means that this grows by 10. So this is going to give 50 to everybody. So we'll give 50 to these three and itself. Then these will all become bigger. So this will get 50 attack and then become a 60-60. As will this. Now this will get 50 attack and become a 70-70. This will also grow. I don't know if she sees the effect of this, the round table. I don't know the order of all the effects yet, which is an interesting part of the game because it is pretty significant what the ordering of those effects happen. Unfortunately, he gets polymorphed, which means we lose out on a support buff, which was 20 for each of our characters, and we lose out on a good character that would get buffed by the good boy, which would further buff this. So we actually, I mean, a polymorph is just so good early, and they got the fates. The fates got it off this, which casts a random spell, which is pretty strong. Fortunately, it looks like we're just big enough. I think we might trade here, and then the Juliet's big enough that, yeah, it's able to trade, so it's sort of a tied fight. I think here, so I could roll here. I think just getting the knighthood and using it on the good boy. The good boy, when it's buffed, means that everybody gets double its stats, and its stats increase. It becomes a 10-10 base. Then everybody's going to get the double its stats, so we'll get 20-80 instead. I was going to buff the other treant, which means that she would get double the gains when other people are buffed. She'll get twice as many stats as they got. But I thought just buffing the good boy would give us more stats overall. Although you could probably calculate that with a little more rigor than I did. I was sort of just going intuitively. I also could have rolled, because spending 12 on one thing is pretty significant. It's your entire turn, basically. And I didn't roll for, like, a pig morph, which, if it hits the right person, like, if I got pig morphed on this treant, without her, I'd probably just lose the fight. If I hit their good boy, they would just lose the fight, because their good boy is pretty much their entire thing. Their good boy going off first is really good for them, because it means that almost all their people can just trade with us straight up, which is really big. So their entire strategy is about summoning Juliets at the end, so they get, a 99, 99, a 105, 105. I think since we summon a new one, they're going to get one more Juliet, but Oz is big enough, and we'll just get the win here. So that was a pretty good game. We got to 6 really early, and then just sort of were able to hold on and get the win without a really focused comp. We had some nice treasures. If you get to 6, I mean, we got, I think, 2 level 6 treasures and a level 5 treasure at the end of the game, compared to our opponent who had a level 6, but also like a level 4, a level 3. So we just had sort of higher level treasures, which is a big boon. And we had a few other, we had some good characters overall. We got some good upgrades, but mostly getting to level 6 so early meant that, even if we had lost to this person who ended up with a pretty good comp, the rest of the game wasn't even close. Like, this was a very easy top 2, even if we had to fight for the top 1. So, the first game we did that's recorded. We'll try to get a little better at this, and hopefully we'll win some more games. Thanks for watching.